Hello to everyone, my name is Jenny Spivey and having been in retail buying for 37 years this year, I have been asked to put together a presentation as to a buyer's guide to how to get the best out of exhibitions. Essentially, it's one direction, sellers and buyers all moving towards the same objectives. Attending shows and exhibitions and spending time viewing and selecting product always reminds me why I chose retailing as a career. It's a rewarding use of time. As with most things in life, it's all about being in the right place at the right time. If you don't visit the shows and trade fairs, then you will never be truly aware of what the relevant industries are doing, and seizing opportunities for being first to market, finding that one really hot item or securing a really key deal. You never feel that you can afford to take time out of the daily business, but it is time well invested and will bring its rewards. I have never visited a show without feeling that there was something of interest or a learn to take on board, even when it wasn't necessarily right for me at the time. To understand the benefits of a trade show, retailers and sellers can meet face to face, exchanging information and creating beneficial business relationships in order to deliver additional revenue for both parties. There are opportunities to see and engage with new and seasonal trends, seeing new developments and product launches, and most importantly, to find new sources of supply. There is the ability to see a number of suppliers in a more contained amount of time, a couple of days rather than weeks. Using the time allocated effectively to plan your assortment for the immediate and future months has to be key in any buying calendar. It's a good place for finding solutions. There's an opportunity for members of your team to visit the show and to understand more easily the scope and size of the job of selection and buying. You can take the opportunity to attend seminars and listen to industry experts, retail leaders and innovators. Time away from the business to focus entirely on product, something that is very rare in today's age. Always an opportunity to learn and embrace new ideas. And most importantly, you can see everything under one roof. I think it's really important in terms of travel to plan your journey well in advance. You need to book any accommodation months in advance. I know some people who book their hotel year on year as they leave the show. Book train tickets and seat reservations in order to get the benefit of advanced travel. If you're going by car, start the first day early enough to avoid the main traffic jams, get parked and go and get a really well-deserved coffee. Remember to travel as light as possible and leave anything you don't need in one of the cloakrooms. Retrieve your things before the end of the show to avoid queues, and don't forget to allow yourself plenty of time to get from one end of the exhibition to where the cloakroom is located. Wear layers of clothing to be adaptable to the temperatures, which rise noticeably as the day goes on indoors and then decrease rapidly outside. Look for early booking deals which can generally be accessed through the organisers of the exhibitions. There are often arrangements for favourable rates for accommodation for attendees via the following site. Don't forget to pre-register for the show to speed up your entrance on the first day. Arriving after a bad journey or a frustrating travel arrangement, which just doesn't work in reality, sets you off at the show in the wrong frame of mind, so preparation is well advised. Very important lesson in life, the 5 Ps. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Success is where preparation and opportunity meet, says Bobby Unser. And spectacular achievement is always preceded by unspectacular preparation, Robert Schuller. In terms of preparation, plan your allocated time to be spent at the show, make your travel arrangements, go through the organisers' pre-show offers or associated partners to get the deals on travel and accommodation. Very important to do a shopping list in advance. Plan your seasonal budget, how much you have available to spend for the show in order to spend on offers and promotions. Do your sales analysis of what has worked and what hasn't. Decide who you must see and allocate time for the appointments, booking them in advance. And then most importantly, check which days your key account managers or agents are going to be attending the show. Decide on your themes, categories and concepts in advance. And decide on the level of carryover stock you are comfortable with and what needs to be marked down and cleared in advance. I always found that refreshing with a couple of new pieces could often revitalise existing stock. Research online and through the editorials the up-and-coming trends and fashion inspirations. And do read the industry magazines. I would always advise that you check out your local competition so that you are aware of what their current ranging looks like. Go through the exhibitors' pre-show information, often sent to you months in advance. And most importantly, spend some time formulating your strategy and your objectives for the next 12 months. My views on buyers' expectations from a show should be that you receive courtesy and politeness from your suppliers, that you're not grabbed by bushy salespeople if you are walking the aisles, that you expect knowledge and information from the exhibitors with a positive and enthusiastic approach. You have time to browse uninterrupted, but receiving service when required, that you receive a follow-up after the show when requested, with a receipt of further information via catalogues, price lists and pictures if not available at the show. And I would always look, when talking to a supplier, for a defendable distribution policy to avoid duplication of ranges in your retail location. This slide always brings a smile, and I'm sure many of us have seen this film, how exhibitors view potential customers and can be so wrong. How wonderful it is when you find a winner. I have experienced butterflies in my stomach when I come upon a new supplier with exciting, innovative product, which in the ever-shrinking world doesn't happen so often these days. There's a huge difference between nice, pretty product and something that makes you see the pound signs. It's all about the commerciality of product to easily sell in volume at a good margin with a fast stock turn. And the images below give you some prime examples over the decades. It's nice to dwell on success stories. My first buyership in Harrods was in travel goods in the mid-80s. I went to a travel goods show and found a supplier from Denmark with this fabulous range of rubberized suitcases with a matching briefcase in red, grey and yellow. I hadn't seen the like of it, and certainly it wasn't something that we had been stocking. No one was showing any real interest in the supplier, who was unknown and untried, but I loved them and I placed a small order. When they arrived, we displayed them at the front of the department. The floor manager raised an eyebrow and indicated that he thought they were high risk, and did I really know what I was doing? At this point, I certainly started to have a few qualms. 2 days later, a customer bought the whole suite of cases in yellow. I could have hugged them, the rest sold too. I think the lesson there is go with your gut instinct, and if you love it, try it. Another success story came more recently, when I first saw Spaceform at the Spring Fair when I was glass buyer at John Lewis in the year 2000. I loved the concept and believed that as gifting it would be very commercial. I introduced a few designs, and the width of the range covering various life events and designs grew rapidly. Christina Greenhalgh proved to be an effective businesswoman and service provider, and business accelerated at pace. I am truly delighted to see that John Lewis is still stocking the Spaceform product almost 15 years later. It's worthwhile spending some time understanding what suppliers' expectations are and why they spend the money to show at these exhibitions. They want to be sure that visitors are committing to attend the shows they have invested in. They want to have access to the buyers. They want an opportunity to meet and talk to buyers who cannot otherwise make appointments to see them. Business cards and contact details to be made available if information by the buyer is requested. And newcomers to be in a location where buyers can find them. Strong promotion and support from the organisers, and ease of access to make and break down the stands with working facilities. They would prefer buyers to wear a badge identifying their position and retail operation, although in my opinion, every customer is important, regardless of who they are. And last but by no means least, the organisers' expectations. They want to see sufficient time allocated to cover the show properly. They want the volume of visitors in order to sustain the viability of the show. And they want feedback from the exhibitors on the show's organisation and the actual running of the show, coupled with feedback from the buyers about the level and quality of the exhibitors, show facilities and ways to improve future shows. They would like early registration, and because a lot of work goes into it, they would like to see good attendance at the seminars and talks. The ease approach at a show. To enjoy, enthuse, engage, energise, explore and evaluate. So we move on to at the show itself. Initially, plan which halls you are going to walk and categories you wish to cover. Walk systematically up and down the aisles, keeping an eye open for the suppliers you have highlighted in advance. I always used to pay special attention to the perimeter aisles. They are the best place for spotting new and emerging suppliers, as they will not afford or be allocated the best locations and will want to test the water if it's their first time. They will also be more likely to offer trials, show offers, whilst giving the opportunity for the retailer to find innovation and point of difference. Set an objective that you should find and allocate money to somebody completely new. Good negotiations can very often take place at shows. It's your opportunity to meet the decision makers and get agreement or resolution to some of your requests or issues. It's all a race against time. So look for your visual merchandising tips and props you can utilise in your own retail store. I always look at the way colour and texture is used on exhibitors' stands. The use of fragrance and nice smells always influence me, and it gave me a time to reflect how this could all be recreated in my own allocated space. Look at the display stands being made available by many suppliers. My advice is to avoid a mishmash of different styles and substrates. Product should be king, not the supplier's point of sale. Look for and try out the live demonstrations. Many suppliers will now supply the stands free of charge with product fill of a sterling amount. If they don't, then negotiate. And do make sure you take home a show catalogue for future referencing. Networking at shows is such a wonderful opportunity. Talking to the decision makers is not always easy to do from your home base, as very often you are diverted to other people initially. Shows are a great opportunity for meeting people face to face and having that opportunity to raise the profile of your business. I have often used a show to get additional support in terms of marketing and promotions, negotiating periods of exclusivity on product lines in regional areas, or better prices in order to drive volume sales. At the end of the day, it's all about having the edge on your competition, either through point of difference or talking to the management of companies to get them on board with your strategy and primary objectives for the year ahead. Coming soon, new product is what it's really all about at shows. So look for the themes and trends. Shows and exhibitions are just the best for putting themes and collections together, as under one roof you can see so many different suppliers who will have researched the trends and bought accordingly on your behalf. Point of difference, which I think is so key to being a really successful retailer, can be obtained by pulling your ranges together into collections, by sourcing from a few suppliers rather than just one. At a show, this can all be done within a couple of days and under one roof. I worked with a very successful retailer who bought with a firm strategy of giving their customers a reason for visiting them on a regular basis, to browse and to find gifts not seen on every other high street or out-of-town outlet. They also spent time identifying their target customer from the outset. Here are a few pictures of some very classic and contemporary themes which seem to work with great longevity. I'm always interested in show awards because I do think if you look for show awards and presentations, they are generally judged at the beginning of the show. These will often be for best product, newness or innovation, and will be highlighted on the winning supplier stands. This is a great and quick way of identifying potential winners a new product depending on the categories you cover. As a judge at the Gift of the Year Awards at the Spring Fair, I would highly recommend making an early stop at the presentation area where all the winning product is displayed. All picked by a very experienced and varied number of judges. All the product is less than a year old since it was launched. I would also take the opportunity to look for new processes, technology and internet links to help your business, often rewarded under innovation. I think it's always important to consider buying at the show. The benefits are that very often suppliers will have show offers and additional incentives for you to place the order at the time. Suppliers are very keen to recover the costs of exhibiting and deals may be available. Some suppliers still work on show targets for each salesperson, so they will have that extra degree of motivation. Clearance product is often offered at shows as the suppliers want to convert this stock back into cash, but you must be prepared to take the stock fairly quickly in order to secure the best price. My advice to you is to be absolutely sure that you are entirely happy with the product you are buying on the spot. Things can look very different in the cold light of a day. I have to smile, as I'm sure many of you will if you're looking at this image, because many of you will resonate strongly with wearing one of these. It went global, then it fell off a cliff. I was buying sports in the 80s and had only been buying clothing for a few months when the global trend started for wearing tracksuits for casual wear rather than just sports. I placed an initial order for 150 pieces at a sports show for just a few stores, with only one supplier really promoting them. 6 months later, at the same show, they were everywhere, at every price point, colour and fabric. Demand was at its highest and stock availability was at its worst. Lead times stretched to months in advance and my orders went from hundreds to thousands. Only a year later, you couldn't give them away at any price. The lesson learnt here, I feel, is to get into the trends early and watch the market carefully. Be happy with the profit made, but don't be greedy and be caught with too much stock that you end up writing off. A little tip on watching the pack sizes. An Olympus sports buyer once told me a story on the possible pitfalls of buying in bulk. He bought some table tennis balls from the Far East at a show in China, in what he thought were individual units as the price was so low and was also on a special offer. When the 20-foot container arrived, packed to the brim with table tennis balls, and the invoice arrived a bit later, he realised that they came in packs of 100 pieces. 4,000 table tennis balls suddenly had become 40,000. Based on his sales, he had just bought the equivalent of 8 years' worth of stock and no home to store them all. The lesson learnt here was, regardless of a bargain price, watch the volumes you are buying and don't exceed what you can realistically sell to release your cash and avoid storage charges. I think it's important to keep your finger on the pulse at all times when at a show. And remember that you can't beat a good core line. Trends will come and go, bringing success and varying degrees of write-off, and are a must if you are a responsive retailer to newness and innovation. You can be an equally strong retailer if your business is based on core essentials and are known as the place to go if you want. Shows are a great opportunity for looking for new sources who may have a more updated version of, or may be offering a more competitive price. There is nothing like finding a cash cow for your business. Good, every day of the week, even on a wet Wednesday. Over the years, I have found loads of good staple products at shows which have delivered thousands of pounds worth of turnover through the tills. As exhibitions have evolved, so have the seminars and presentations. Select carefully in advance the ones you really want to attend. Try and attend something which is totally new to you as well, as the ones where you want to hear more or gain a different perspective. It may be advisable to split up if you are with a colleague and attend different ones, so that you can cover more off and exchange the feedback at a later stage. Always make sure that you take away any literature or summaries with website details or contact information, and do take the opportunity to ask questions either during or after the presentation. Learn from the captains of industry and the category experts. It really is an opportunity not to be missed. Looking after yourself. Not something many of us do at exhibitions as we race around chasing our tails. So my advice to you is to stop for regular drinks and something to eat during the day. Sugar levels can get very low quickly. Don't become dehydrated and do carry a bottle of water around with you. Pause for breath and review midway what you have accomplished so far and the time left to achieve your original objectives. I do advise that you wear comfortable and practical shoes and avoid carrying heavy bags. Larger exhibitions may require small trolley cases to carry all the catalogues. I have used a case very often and my advice to you is to just avoid tripping over other people's cases. But they are a godsend and worth the investment. Do wear layers of clothing as it gets much hotter as the day goes on under all the stand lights. At the end of the show, which is, as far as I'm concerned, also a key part to the whole project, except that when you return to your place of business, that the day-to-day tasks will be waiting to drag your attention back to reality. So my advice to you is to set a day aside in advance where you can review what you saw and plan what you want to follow up on, preferably away from the distractions of the business. Split all your catalogues and paperwork and cards, etc. into piles. I would always put them into firm favourites and items which immediately re-engage you emotionally. Something will resonate with you once you've left the show as a key line that you must chase. The must-haves to protect the core business and seasonal and trend items. Keep your promotional opportunities separate. My advice, although contrary to others that I have read, is that anything left, particularly if you can't remember why you picked it up, should be discarded. Divide your budget to allocate the appropriate monies so that all your bases are covered. Tears from catalogues and mood boards are an excellent planning tool. And do always leave sufficient budget for replenishment and in season, as always there will be a new hotline or newness coming on stream. Do contact the suppliers who you want to make further appointments, as diaries on both sides get very booked and time post the show will fly past. Don't forget to confirm all the orders placed at the show and ensure that you mark on the orders any early bird or show offers to receive your additional discount. Spend time planning your visual merchandising in store and ensure that you arrange appropriate fixturing well in advance of taking the delivery in. Plan your offers or promotions. Do an annual calendar of events and promotions and do allocate some space for promotional hotspots. Look for your local marketing opportunities and plan these well in advance. And do make sure that you review the impact of your shop windows. They represent who you are and should be powerful and attractive. Make sure they are also well lit even when the store is closed. Stand back from the outside of your shop and ask for feedback from customers and friends. In summary, a few do's and don'ts. Do's. Allocate sufficient time to cover the show properly. Do prepare your trip well in advance in order to reduce the costs and maximise the benefits of visiting the show. Bring plenty of business cards or contact details and wear comfortable clothes and shoes. Drink water and take breaks. Look for new suppliers and opportunities and allocate time after the show to follow up and convert the ideas and information given into action plans. Keep an open mind to the assortments on show and be prepared to trial or revisit. And then really important, try and relax in the evening so that you come back fresher to the show the following day. A few don'ts. Just don't turn up without a plan. Don't spend all your time with suppliers who you deal with and see on a regular basis. Don't lose focus from your original game plan or spend all your budget in advance. I really would strongly advise that you're not afraid to trial and you make changes away from the same old, same old. Don't waste time initially and then frantically race around trying to catch up. And a little hint, don't leave as the show closes, as you will get caught up with all the exhibitors leaving and will lengthen your travel time. In summary, without buyers attending fairs in sufficient numbers, there will be no shows or exhibitions. And selecting and buying without attending shows would make the job 10 times harder with a far higher level of risk. And if you get all of that right, I'm sure it's a deal.